Hi everyone. Happy new week. I hope that you've had a pleasant weekend. Let's start this week positively. Okay, so today we'll be drafting a princess bustier with a front zipper, and it's an easy tutorial. If you know how to draft basic bodies, this should be very easy. Okay, so I actually will be making a dress out of this bodice, but that will come in part 2. So today let's just concentrate on how you go about drafting that princess bustier with a front zipper. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe, share and comment. We'll see you in our next video. Bye bye. Okay, so mates, let's get into the tutorial. So like I said, we are drafting rather a bustier, princess bustier bodice, which will have a zipper at the front. So this zipper allowance is this is the front bodice. This will be at the front of the blouse or the dress, whatever you want to put at the bottom. So here you can see I have about 1.5 to 2 inches, yeah, about 1 3/4 of the zipper allowance. You can leave 1 inch, 3/4. It depends on what allowance you want to leave. And then I've gone on to draw these lines that you can see here. So we have this will represent the shoulder line, we have the armhole line or the chest line, we have the bust line, and you have your waistline. Okay, so let's go on and impute our measurements. We start with the shoulder line. Okay, so we're going to be working with a shoulder line of 16 inches. So you divide that by 2. Let me use a marker so that you can see. So your shoulder line measurement, or your shoulder measurement divided by 2, mine is 16 divided by 2 gives me 8. Okay, and then for the neckline we're going to use 3 inches. Okay, let me put this way so that you can see. So we are measuring from this line, not from the zipper allowance. Okay, so we're going to use a neckline of 3 inches. Okay, and then we create our shoulder slope. You come down 1 inch from there. So you create, let me get the smaller ruler here. So you're just going to slant it here. Okay, and then we need to put or impute our bust, rather your nipples, your nipple to nipple measurement, or your bust span. Okay, so I'm going to use 4 inches. Okay, so you mark it on the bust line, you mark it on the waistline. You're going to connect these 2 points like this. Okay, and then on your upper chest line or your armhole line, you need to connect this line straight to the chest line. So this is our 8 inches shoulder measurement. Okay, because we came down by 1 inch, you need to compensate it back there. So I'm going to go down by 1 inch. Okay, and then we're going to do this, and you just draw a straight line. So we'll be imputing our bust measurements from this line, not this one, because it's going to be this measurement now is smaller than your armhole, your actual armhole, because you've gone down by 1 inch. So that's why we are putting this 1 inch back. Okay, so now we can go ahead to create our armhole curve. So you need to get the midpoint of this line here. Okay, that's our midpoint. So you just fold your tape this way. Otherwise you can use your calculator to find the midpoint. Okay, so this is our midpoint. You just mark it. So it is also important for you to take your front width. So from one armhole rather to the other armhole. I'll be demonstrating this now so that you understand. So now we need to create our armhole curve. So from this midpoint, you can come in 0.75 or 1 inch. I'll come in by 1 inch. You can use 0.75, you can use ½ inch. So what will help you also is for you to know this front width measurement. Take your measurement and compare it to that. Okay, so you just divide that by 2 as you compare with your front width. So then you create your curve, your front curve. Okay, so you can use freehand to do this. I'm just going to use my curved ruler, and then by this time we need to impute our bust measurement so that we know where our curve should pass. Okay, so my bust measurement is 38 inches. 38 inches divided by 4 gives me 9.5, so 9.5 there. So I know that my curve needs to pass through there. Okay. Okay, so we have our front armhole curve, and then if you think this is too wide, you can reduce it. So for example, let me check this out. It looks too wide for what I want. So this is about 5 inches. I might take out maybe, let's say, 3/4, so that it's not too wide. And I will do this. Okay, and we ignore this one. Now for the princess bustier, let me do this. For the princess bustier, we want to create our dart now. Okay, so we're going to use 1 inch for the dart, so that's ½ inch on either side. So you just mark that. Okay, and from your bust line you come down 1 inch because you don't want to create a sharp pointed edge there. Okay, so connect this back to your darts or to the marked allowance there for your dart, creating the 2 dart legs. Okay, and then this part is done. You want to come now to the armhole and create the curve. So here, remember this is our midpoint, so we're doing it from here. Okay, so I'm just going to use my ruler to create that curve. Okay, a nice curve. Okay, when I'm happy, I'll just connect it this way. Okay, so I have that, and then I'll come down 1 inch to create the dart leg. So from there, and then from here I also want to, so from the bust line there, I also want to leave about 1 inch above. Okay, and then I'm going to be connecting this to that. So I just create a nice smooth curve. Okay, make sure there are no sharp edges, right? So this 1 inch that you've used here, you see, 1 inch, you need to place it back on this second dart leg. You need to place it back, which takes us back to this original line that we had there. This is to compensate for the fabric, because if you do not place it back here, when you are cutting, you are going to run short of fabric. Okay, so our armhole line now needs to be created from this point. Okay, this becomes our new armhole. Oops. Yeah, so this becomes our new armhole. You're going to ignore this one when cutting. Okay, And then the next thing is just to create the side seam. Okay, I hope you can see that. So we want to create our side seam. Here we come to our waistline. We are working with a waist of 37 inches. So 37 divided by 4 gives you 9¼ So this is my 9¼ And then to this one we're going to add this 1 inch dart allowance, so plus 1 inch, and then plus your sewing allowance. So I'll add 1½ inch there. So here also I'll add the 1½ inch for your allowance, your sewing allowance, that is. So the next thing you want to do is just to connect these points. Okay, so this is how you create your bodice. The next thing is you want to create the neckline. Okay, let me see if I can. So the neckline here, because this is the front bodice, okay, I would draft the back bodice separately. So the back bodice, let's do 2½ inches, because this is going to be a high neck blouse. You will see it, not a blouse, I'm making a dress actually. So you will see how it's going to be. It has the mandarin collar, so you really need it to be high. So the front will use 2½, the back will use half. 1 inch will be fine. So then you connect it this way and you have your front bodice. Okay, so here the center piece now, so this must continue here because you are cutting all the way here. Okay, so meaning you will have cut times 2 because of this opening we're going to have. And then the side, let's call it side front, you also will have 2 times 2. Okay, let's cut that quickly. Okay, here I'm going to be adding, I didn't add sewing allowance, so you can decide which allowance you want to add here. Let's add 1 inch sewing allowance, 1 inch sewing allowance, and then you can go ahead and cut. Okay, okay, so this is what I have, and then we'll go ahead and cut. So these dart legs come all the way down here, so we go ahead and cut. Okay, so let's quickly draft the back. Okay, so again we have shoulder line, upper chest line, bust line, and then the waistline. So we're working with a shoulder of 8 inches, and we're going to be marking that. So we have 8 inches. You mark your 8 inches. Neck width 3 inches. Okay, and remember we said for the back we're going to use a neck depth of 1, let's say 1½. Okay, because I want this to be a high neck dress. You'll see once we have sewn the dress. So this is the back neckline. From this 8 inch shoulder measurement, come down by 1 inch and create our shoulder slant. Okay, so we bring this 8 inches here. This is the shoulder measurement. You're going to mark it again on your shoulder line, and then from there we want to connect these 2 points. Okay, remember we have to come down 1 inch to compensate for this 1 inch shoulder slant here. So you need to connect this back, and then you just create this line. This is where we're going to be putting our measurements. So our bust measurement is 38. 38 divided by 4 gives us 9.5. So we place the 9.5 here. There's something. Okay, 9.5, and then we are working with a bust span of 4 inches. So for the back, we're just going to draft the normal bodice. Okay, I'm just going to put a normal bodice. So this is our bust span line, so that we can create our dart. So because this is at the back and we don't have a bust or boobs at the back, you can actually raise your dart. So from the armhole line or from the chest line, just come down 1 inch and create your dart leg. So we're still going to use 1 inch, which is ½ inch on one side. Okay, just create this and connect to your dart legs like that. Okay, and then now we can create our side seam. So we used 1.5 inches for the side seam, so we're gonna place it here. Waist measurement, our waist measurement rather is 37 inches. So 37 divided by 4 gives us 9.25. So you're just going to measure that 9.25 there, and then you need to put back this 1 inch for the dart, and then plus 1.5 sewing allowance. Then you create your, okay, we create our side seam, creating our side seam, and then we added 1 inch sewing allowance at the bottom to the front. So let's just do the same, and then here we're going to be contouring the back, even though we're not putting a zipper at the back, because we have a zipper at the front. You want the dress to sit nicely, so you know that your front length is longer than your back length, because obviously at the back there's no breast, so it will be shorter. So in my case, I'm going to be taking off about 1 inch this side. So this would be your center back. Okay, so from the center back, I'm going to go up by 1 inch. 1 inch brings me back here. Okay, so what I want to do is to slant. I want the other ruler. I think it fell. Where is it? There we go. Okay, so I'm going to come up 1 inch from this sewing allowance, 1 inch, and then I want to slant it this way. Before I reach the sewing allowance, I'll join it there. So something like this. So this will be cut off, okay, so that we get the right length at the back without issues. Now we want to create our armhole line. So here again, you need to find the midpoint of this line. Okay, so this is the midpoint of this line. Just bend your tape, crease it, and this is our midpoint. So from the back, for the front bodice, we came in 1 inch to create our curve. So on this one, we'll use 3/4, or even, yeah, 3/4 is fine. You can use ½ inch there if you wish, but I'm using 3/4. And now I just want to create my curve, and then we're going to go ahead and cut it. Okay, so from here, I think we came in 0.75 on the other one to reduce this measurement. Okay, it's too wide for my liking. You can leave it like that if you like, but I reduced mine. So we're just curving it this way. So this is back, and you're going to be cutting 2 of these. Rather, you're going to be cutting 1 because there's no zipper here. Cut 1, okay? 1 piece, because this is going to be on fold. You're going to be cutting this on fold. Okay, so then we can go ahead and cut.